that's the kind of church that we want to help, because I think that's what's at stake for today. When you look around your community and you see people in need, you see ministry opportunities, and you're a pastor, or you're we're working in youth ministry, you're on staff, maybe you're a volunteer, like literally your church is important to you. And you're like, hey, this should be important to other people. And that's kind of what we want to talk about. Chris, you shared this Bible verse not too long ago, because I think there's a spiritual compulsion that we don't want our churches to be stuck or stale or any of those things. You were talking about this, and I just thought this was really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorite verses in the Bible, and I think just like as all of us in ministry, right, we understand this, right? To go out to the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house may be full. I think it's easy sometimes, right? Like, man, we're praying, God, fill up our church, bring people in, right? And we have such a heart, right? And it's not for like a lack of prayer or trying or caring that we're bringing people in, right? But figuring out how do we go out to the highways and hedges, right, and compel them to come in, right? That word compel, that action word. How do we compel them to come in, that his house may be full, right? And I think that's the important part, and that's ultimately the reason that we're here, right? Is, man, like, let's make heaven crowded, right? It's the reason we're in ministry. It's the reason we're here on this workshop today, and that's what we want to focus on today. Right. So, man, let's kick this off with prayer. Dive in. We're going to pray, and then we're going to kind of jump into some strategy here. God, I thank you for every single pastor and church leader on this workshop today. God, I thank you that everywhere the sole of their foot treads, they're on land that you've given them. God, that no weapon formed against them shall prosper, but every single thing they put their hand to will. God, I thank you that you would bring in resources and volunteers and new families. God, I pray that you would breathe life into churches that have been stale and stagnant or plateaued. God, I pray for every single church who's discouraged or feels stuck right now. God, we speak life into that situation in the name of Jesus. God, I pray that you would encourage them here today, God, and that you would help every single one of us, God, to be able to go out to the highways and hedges, compel them to come in so that we can make heaven crowded. God, I pray that you would do exceedingly abundantly above and beyond all that we can ask or imagine today in this workshop. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, so let's dive in, right, man? Without faith, without works, faith is dead. Let's dive in and actually talk about some of the things that we can do. Jim, I saw that you asked in the chat here a little while ago, hey, what if your church is invisible? What can you do? That's exactly what we're going to talk about here today, right? So let's take action. Let's dive in and talk about, if you feel like you're the best kept secret in town, you feel like you're invisible, let's talk about how to get the word out.
Hey, as we're jumping in here, guys, we want to know, again, what is your biggest challenge? This helps us know who we're talking to, how we can help, how we can go deeper in maybe certain areas. So there is going to be a poll that you can vote. We want to let you guys, give a second to vote there. Let us know your biggest challenge. We'd love to see that here. So if the team would throw that. Okay, it's Michael, take a look at some of the there. That's fun.
My favorite answer.
So
probably no surprise, but all of these is in the lead, because that's what we want, right? We want new people to come to our church. And when we were thinking about this and putting this workshop together, I know just from even our church field churches that we've worked with the last several years, the problem, I'm going to generalize here, the problem probably is not your sermons, programs, and ministries. From the types of churches that show up to a training like this, I would guess, I think you guys would agree too. Like there's going to be some good sermons preached this coming Sunday. Right? If you're a lead pastor, you've been praying through that and studying, getting that message. You probably got really good programs. Maybe you have a good kids ministry program. Maybe you offer a recovery ministry. I mean, like there's really good programs and ministries that are happening. So the problem, I think one of the things we try to help churches do is, I know there's things you want to tweak and you want to improve, but there's good stuff happening. I think the problem is maybe there's not enough people that are aware of these things, right? They're not a part of it. Like good stuff's happening at the church. I just wish more people were here to participate in it, to benefit from it, to kind of experience God through that. And so the kind of question that we ask is, how do we maximize the good stuff that's happening in your church? It's already going on. You're already spending money on it. It's your job. Like it's already happening. How do we maximize that? And I think one of the things that I gravitate to is this idea of what a system is. And James Clear, one of my favorite writers, he said this quote: "You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." And I know in church ministry, even when I was pastoring, it's like we'd always have goals. How many people are we going to have on Easter? How many, what's VBS going to be like? Or, we always have, and we have passion. You're called to do ministry. You have this passion to reach people and you want to do it. And it's usually not a want to problem. I mean, there's probably nobody here today that has I don't want to reach 10 to 15 new families this fall. No one's going to say that. It's often a system problem. And so a system is really anytime things happen on a regular, repeated basis, you have the opportunity to create a system. You don't need more stuff to try, right? You're not idea broke. You actually need a system. So anytime things happen on a regular basis, and then we could talk about volunteers, we could talk about discipleship, we could talk about, growth. There's all these different areas where we could apply a system to. Today, we're going to kind of apply this, kind of to the visitor angle, to the visitor plan. And Chris, Ryan, I think as we've talked over the last months, years, as long as we've known each other, really, like there's a passion around this of like, how can we get more people to come to the church? And there is a systematic approach. I think you should pray for that. I think you should hope for that. All the things I think you should prepare for, but is there a system that you can put in place that would help that happen? And I think that's something that we could talk about today.
Yeah, let's do it. So if you guys are ready to dive in, just say system in the chat or give it an emoji, and let's do that. So we also, we've put together a workbook for you guys. There should be a link where you guys can download that workbook. We want you guys to take the workbook, get your whiteboard, get the team together, get your notepad. Chris is going to jump on the whiteboard here in a second. It's my absolute favorite part of the workshop. And you guys are going to love it, but we are putting in the work now. We are actually building your system, and we want you guys to follow along. So that's really, really important. This isn't just more ideas. This is let's get your visitor plan in place. Let's start building that system. This is very important, that insanely practical. This is not, hey, let's just shoot around ideas. This is let's get something done. And so be sure you download that workbook. You guys can, if you have your own whiteboard, you can get the workbook and start sketching this out on your whiteboard with Chris. So as we're jumping in there and we're working on your plan for this fall, we're going to make this super simple. So this is one of my absolute favorite frameworks that we want to teach pastors now. It's so simple. And as we're planning to get 10 to 15 new families to your church, we're starting with this idea of 3 types of searchers. This is just to make it very, very simple. And you guys are going to love this. We've done this workshop now with about 1,000 pastors. This is one of the best things that they say, oh, man, this would just help me a way to think about it. So the 3 types of searchers, we've got those blanks there that you can fill this in. So the first fill in is people who are searching for a church. Now, I know you may say, well, nobody's looking for a church near me. Trust me, there's a whole group of people in your community that are already looking for you and can't find you, okay? Check this out, guys. We had our Google team pull this, and they said, Ryan, in the United States alone, there are 1 million searches on Google a month of people looking for their church. Pause and think about that. There's 1 million people in the United States who are going to Google and who are looking for a church. So as we're putting together your fall visitor plan, the first thing we're going to say is, how do we reach those who are already searching for you? Does that make sense? Like, that's the easiest people. They're already going and trying to find you, but there's something that's keeping them from finding you. So we got to solve that. So that's number one, is people who are searching for a church. The second group of people, and this is especially big in the fall, especially big for those who are trying to reach young families. Do we have anybody here that's like, man, we're trying our best to reach young families? This is huge if we're going to impact culture the way that we want to. And so this is people who are searching for something to do. This fall is a big time as kids are going back to school. You've got the fall time, which they're looking for something to do. Young families are looking for something safe to do around Halloween. Going into Christmas, they're looking for ways to make meaningful memories. And so they are looking for something to do. So the first category, people who are searching for hope. Second category that you're going to reach this fall, people who are searching for something to do. The third category are people who are searching for hope. Okay, and this is like everybody. Okay, this is all of humanity, because we know this is that we until we find why God created us and ultimately the ultimate reason for life and meaning in Jesus, we are searching for hope, right? So like this is all of the people in our community, and especially when they're going through a storm, and everybody is either going through a storm or about to go through a storm. People are searching for hope. And so in your fall plan, we want to make sure that you are showing up and reaching people who are searching for hope. They are going through it. I'm telling you, in a mile around your church, there are people who are absolutely going through a storm, and they need you. They need Jesus. They need to be plugged into a Jesus centered, life-giving community, which you have. You've already got that stuff Michael talked about going on. You need to have a plan to reach those people who are searching for hope. So this is the 3 types of searchers. And here's what's cool. Guess what, guys? It's not rocket science. There are 3 types of invites. And so what we're going to do now is Chris, guys, and this is my absolute favorite part of the workshop. Chris is going to jump up on the board and kind of show you how we take the 3 types of invites so that we can reach the 3 types of searchers. So this is really cool, guys. Check this out here. So hold on, give me a second, guys. If you guys are fired up, ready to go, let us know in the chat. I'm gonna stop the slide so we can maximize Chris here. All right, Chris, let's roll.
Okay, so here's what we should. We just talked about those 3 types of searchers, right? You got people that are searching for a church, you got people who are searching for something to do, and you have people that are searching for hope. Right now, when we did that poll, the majority of you guys, besides all of these, right, that were the problem. The majority of you guys are saying we can't get our people to invite, right? So there's actually 3 types of invites that match up with these 3 types of searchers, right? So here's what we got on the whiteboard here, right? Here's your fall, right? So from August through the end of the year, here's what we got. And the first thing that you want to do, the first types of invite is an everyday invite. Okay, so everyday invites. So you have to have something that's out there every single day inviting people to church, right? And here's what's cool is the way that this works is these everyday invites are going to reach all of the people who are searching for a church. Okay, so that first type of searchers, those people searching for church, over 1 million people a month are searching Google for your church, right? So you need to show up there and be inviting people every single day. Right, so the everyday invites are going to be reaching the people who are searching for a church, right? And that's just going every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We'll show you how to do that in just a second. All right, the second thing that you want to do is what about those people that are searching for something to do? All right, I've got 2 young kids. I've got an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. We're looking for this all the time, right? Michael said in the chat a second ago that they used to go and Google free family activities. We're constantly looking for stuff to do, like in our community and around the city, right? So the best way to reach those people who are searching for something to do, especially those young families who are searching for stuff to do, is you want to do momentum invites. And again, we'll break these down and show you guys exactly what this looks like, right? You've got the everyday invites for people that are searching for a church, and then we've got momentum invites for people that are looking for stuff to do. And then here's how this works. These momentum invites, right, are actually built around the natural momentum points that come in the fall that basically every church goes through, right? So you look at like this first one, right? This is kind of back to school, right? I'm sure you guys experience the same thing, right? In our church, we have, right, kind of dips down in the summer. And then with back to school, as people kind of get back from vacation, they start going back to school again. They get back into a routine. What happens is those families start flooding back to church, right? We don't even have to do anything. They just start coming back. People are finding a routine again, right? We're getting back into soccer practice, back into gymnastics, right? And you're making sure, hey, okay, we go to the early service, we go to the late service, right? We're getting everything back in. That's how families are. What you can do is this right here, promoting that back to school and that actual momentum and inviting people out to maybe a back to school bash or a back to school rally, right? That's going to take advantage of a natural momentum point. You're inviting people out for people that are looking for stuff to do to your momentum, right? So we'll talk about here the big 3 in just a second, right? But you've got like your back to school, right? This is your fall festival, and then Christmas, right? Every single church is kind of going through this whole thing, right? You might have a harvest party or trunk or treat or do something else, right? But everybody's at that back to school, fall festival, and Christmas. And so you are inviting people to these natural momentum points, right, throughout the fall. And then here's the cool thing. This last one is one of my personal favorites, and I feel like this is the biggest opportunity where a lot of churches are missing out. Okay, you've got your everyday invites, momentum invites. This last one are ministry invites. Okay, and the cool thing about ministry invites, these are going to reach all those people who are searching for hope. That's where your ministry invites are going to reach. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? Throughout the course of the year, if you look at the calendar, the entire year can be divided up into momentum seasons and ministry seasons, right? So what are the natural momentum seasons? You got back to school, you got fall festival, you got Christmas, right? Beginning of the school year, right? Kind of a clean slate. People start coming back to church. They make New Year's resolutions. They come back to church there in January, right? And then you've got the natural momentum of Easter and then Mother's Day. But all those times in between there are ministry seasons. A lot of times we look at those like, okay, well, our attendance might dip down, right? It's going to dip down. People talk about the summer slump. Well, that's actually just a ministry season all throughout there. And what we found is that if you go all in during those ministry seasons, what happens is you're sowing seed during the ministry seasons, right? And you're actually going to reap the harvest in the momentum seasons. So if you do ministry seasons right and go hard in the paint, you're going all in during the ministry seasons. What happens is ministry seasons multiply momentum seasons, right? And so we'll talk about this here in just a second. I'll show you how we did this at my church. But what happens these ministry seasons, our favorite way to do this is with prayer ads, right? So like if you're inviting people every single day, people that are searching for a church, right? And then you have a system for momentum invites and actually inviting people out to those momentum points and the different events that you're doing at your church and those types of things. And then in between, where there's a little bit of overlap, you're doing ministry invites, right? You're praying for people doing ministry at scale. What happens now is all three of these combine and they compound. And what happens is these three types of invites actually form a funnel that are going to lead people to your church. Okay, and so we talked about, hey, this plan that we're showing you guys here today is specifically designed to bring in 10 to 15 new families. That's not just hyperbole. Here's what that looks like. Right. So if this plan here, if all this does, right, as you go in and you set up everyday invites for your church, you set up momentum invites and ministry invites. If all this does is each one of these just brings in one new family to your church a month, right? So you've got everyday invites and it brings in just one new family that decides to visit each month, right? And then you've got your momentum invites, right? And that brings in one new family a month to come visit and check things out, right? And then you've got your ministry invites, right? And you're praying for people, and that brings in just one new family a month. What happens is now you've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 new families that come check out your church, right, throughout the course of the fall. So it's not just hyperbole. We're actually going to show you, right, this framework. So we're gonna dive in and show you guys some examples of our favorite ways to set up everyday invites, momentum invites, and ministry invites. So let's jump back into the slide deck here and kind of walk you guys through that.
Man, that's always one of my favorite parts of this. I love Chris on the whiteboard. Everybody's like, more whiteboard. So let's jump into kind of just how to unpack this. And so the first one you guys saw there, everyday invites. Man, this is huge. People who are already searching for a church, you need to be showing up every single day. This is a huge opportunity, and this may be one of the biggest ones where most churches are missing this opportunity. And so if you're trying to get those 10 to 15 families, lean in here and listen, because this is where we see, working with thousands of churches, most of our churches are missing this one. This is a really big one. And so everyday invites, our philosophy, because we are passionate about your church reaching people. Like, you should be reaching people every single week. That's our hope and dream, is every single week you have visitors walking through your door and you have the opportunity to share the good news, right? And for our churches, we are saying, hey, we need to always be inviting. Goes back to that chapter from Luke. Go out and compel, and go out, keep going out, keep compelling, always be inviting every single hour of every single day. And this is what really hit home for me. Here, let me share this graphic. So this is really practically what this looks like. So people are going to Google. We don't even call it to search. They're going to Google. Google is now search. Over 1 million people in the US every single month, right? They're going to Google. They're typing in, looking for a church. We want you to be inviting them where they're searching, and then getting really showing up new Sunday visitors. That's how everyday invite works. Searching, they find you, you invite them, they show up. And this is one of the biggest ones, if you feel stuck, where you could have an opportunity to really do something massive. And I told you, this really hit home recently for me. This is my daughter here. This is a picture right when when she was first born. And I remember just those early days. And we got any parents in the house here that where you bring them home from the hospital and they just fit just tiny in your hand. And we were on a trip and looked over at Caitlin now, who's you can see there the picture beside with Amy and Caitlin, and then that's her friend Miette on the end. And she's just turning into this beautiful lady. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did the time go? How in the world did she go from this little bitty baby to where she is now? And I just pause and I think, man, just every single day, she just grew a little bit. And it's almost like you don't even notice it until a decade goes by and you look back and you're like, where did the time go? And pastors, listen up, because this is how healthy growth at your church should work. every little day, every day you should grow just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. And for some of you, you're missing out on the everyday piece, and you're getting the end of the year and you're like, man, we didn't really have any healthy growth that is happening on the routine, that system. Every day we don't have that piece. And so if I can encourage you guys on here with anything, it's just think through this. Okay, we need to get this solved. And so we want to ask a poll just to see if this is really maybe hitting home and is it true? Do you have a plan to invite your community to church every single day? Right now, if you didn't change, if you didn't go to this workshop and you didn't hear about this, do you have a plan in place currently? You could vote there in the poll to invite your community to church every single day. Okay, again, be honest. The polls are anonymous, and the vast majority of us, I already see the results coming in there. We would just be saying, hey, we don't have a plan. We're missing this opportunity, and if we aren't planning for it, we aren't taking action, guys, we can't just hope that this happens. Okay, and so like this is a huge opportunity for us. So on your whiteboard, on your notes, like circle this, star this. We've got to get this piece solved because the local church is very, very important. Your mission is critical, but we need to grow a little bit every single day. Okay, so that is absolutely huge. The second one is those momentum invites. Okay, the big event. So we want you guys, let's get into your plan. Here's what we want to say, guys. We would say for this fall in your plan, we want you to clearly kind of pick what we would call the big three. Okay, the big three. Chris already mapped it out. You got these three big natural momentum points: back to school kickoff, the fall harvest kind of time, and then Christmas. And what we want you to do, like in your workbook, you'll see this. Michael, Chris, and I, and the team put some of our favorite things there. We even have a page at the end of the workbook that has a whole list from a lot of our churches. These are our suggestions of what you can do. But what we would say for you guys in your plan this fall is identify your big three. Okay, your big three. And so we want you to look through it, think through it. For some of you, you already know this piece of the puzzle is already solved. You already know what your big three are. But so go ahead and write that in, because those are the big three that you need to rally everyone in your ministry, in your church, all the departments, all the church, all the congregation. You are all rallying around that one big momentum point for back to school, the one for around October, the one for December. And Michael, you are good about this. In your book, I remember this big aha. You said, like, the number one thing that I've learned in communication in the past 2 decades of ministry is like, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's like, don't do too much stuff. So Michael, why is it important that it's like the big three is so important? Oh, Michael, you're muted. I'm sorry. There you go.
I was trying to think through what that was when you were talking. So I was like, what is that? No, for sure. Because when you're passionate about the ministry that you're doing, there's this temptation to try to have something for everyone. Like, we need something for the kids, and we need something for the senior adults. And we need, so we have all these events, and it gets real easy to just busy up the calendar with so many things. And what I love, Chris, about when you were on the whiteboard and you had those spots for the big three, I loved how they were, in my brain, like properly spaced out, right? Because you need a little bit of time to lead up to the thing, right? Because you got to communicate and promote and get your volunteers and do all that stuff. And then you need some time to follow up from it. Like when something happens, you actually want to be able to reach out to people and connect them. And so if you go from like event to event to event to event all the time, you kind of don't have the time to follow up. So I love the placement of these. And looking through, like, hey, what do we do like in that back to school area? And we don't need 5 good ideas. We need 1 great. Like, and I think we see churches, they sometimes do the same thing every year in the same season. And I think that's great, because you learn and you can kind of build up that reputation. Oh, that's the church that always does the fall festival, or that's the church with the big, that does the big candlelight service that we go. It's like those things kind of build from year to year. So I know sometimes we get in Facebook groups and we get on calls like this, and there's like 20 ideas and you want to do them all. You don't need all the ideas. You just, maybe I like 3. You could have 2, you could have 4. 3 is a great way a great approach to just space out your fall and give your people something to kind of invite to. Yeah.
So guys, we want you to put in the chat, like, if you know this, what are your big 3? Maybe you've got a favorite one. Like, what are your big 3? Again, the first 1,000 people can chat. For everybody else, our webinar software only allows the first 1,000, but we love to hear back from you using the text number there, 816-844-3306. But we want you guys filling out the plan, putting it on your whiteboard, identify so you can clearly communicate to the entire church, hey, we're going to have 3 big momentum points, and here's what they are, and we're going to rally everybody around these. And so you need to get clarity on these for those momentum invites so that we can reach the people who are searching for something to do. Okay, we got every day for the people who are already searching for a church or searching for you. We got the big 3 this fall for the people who are searching for something to do. That's a really easy one. And then that third one is ministry invites. And so, Chris, talk to us about this, because this is really big. This is like huge for pastors. I know all of these are big, but this is one of our favorite ones as well.
Yeah, and this one's near and dear to my heart, right? Like, so when we're talking about ministry seasons, right, what shared on the whiteboard, right? Ministry seasons multiply momentum seasons. As you're sowing seed, as you're sowing seed during those ministry seasons, what happens is in the momentum seasons, you start walking in the harvest of the seeds that you've been planting, right? Good. So that's why this is so important. So what we found, the best way to do ministry invites is with prayer ads. Right, prayer ads is really simple. It's basically just running ads on Facebook and Instagram, asking people how you can pray for them. Okay, just ads and say, hey, my name's Pastor Chris. How can I pray for you? Right. So here's the first time we ran this at my church. Right. This is the ad that we ran right here. And it's literally just, hey, Tulsa, how can we pray for you? Right. Now here's what's crazy. Like, look at the results of this. In the first month, we prayed for 549 people. Like, it was insane. 540. It's not like us going out to them. They came to us and said, oh, pray for us, right? 549 people. We sent them 549 audio prayers so they could hear our voice using their name, praying for their situation. And then the crazy thing is that 86 of them planned a visit to our church.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right? So, and that's just the power of doing ministry invites at scale, right? So, man, Pastor Will, love this. A lot of you guys, hey, we've got, small church. We don't have a lot of resources. Man, I get it. So my friend, Pastor Will, right, his biggest challenge was trying to grow a committed core team. He only had 20 people, struggling to find ways to expand his reach in the community. Nobody knew that they were there, and they're praying about how to get the word out with such a small church. But in 5 months, that church of 20, he prayed for 1,892 people in his community and had 209 new families that planned to visit to his church. Right now, I know that sounds crazy, right? 5 months, church of 20, pray for almost 1,900 people and over 200 families that plan to visit. But look at this. So, like, this is actually like in his account, you can see literally almost 1,900 prayer requests, 209 plan your visits. But here's what's crazy. Like 209 people, it's only 11% of the people that he prayed for. So it's not that crazy, right? Like, if you went out and prayed for 100 people out in your community and invited them to church, it wouldn't be crazy if out of those 100, 11 of them said, yeah, I'd love to come to church, right? And that's what happened. But that's why this is so powerful, right? Here's a church of 90 that did this, 134 prayer requests and 13 new families in the first 3 weeks. We had a church of 35, right? 352 prayer requests and 42 new families that plan to visit in the first 3 months. And then this is a church of 150, right, that in 6 weeks prayed for 974 people and had 111 plan your visits, right? So it doesn't matter the size of your church. It doesn't matter the demographics of your church or your community, right? You can do this in a city, in a small town. You can do this in suburban, all over the place. But it's because this isn't marketing. This is ministry, right? So you're basically just holding up a sign saying, how can I pray for you? And all the people who want prayer are coming out of their houses to you and submitting prayer requests, and they're doing all of it online.
Yeah. Michael, you were a church planner, a lead pastor. When you hear prayer ads, sometimes I think people are like, wait, prayer and ads, come again? So real quick, what's your kind of thought as you hear that from your lead pastor lens?
Yeah, I mean, my first reaction is those are two words that you don't often hear together, right? But when you think about it, I see ads on Instagram all the time. I mean, it's like literally, it's for stupid stuff. And so, it's just for stupid stuff that I don't need and nor should I be interested in. But the idea of a church like showing up in that space, right? Like literally, interrupting somebody's scrolling, and you think about the people, and you can target them locally, right, Chris? You can say, hey, you're not showing these prayer ads to people that are like 4 states over. Like, you could literally say, for people near me, I'd love for them to see a picture, and it's like, do you need somebody to pray for? And then instantly like, what a positive use of social media rather than just, more noise that's out there, but just showing up. And I just think, like, what church, I was talking to somebody yesterday, Ryan, and they were talking about like how people in their church didn't know how to, like, what do we do if people ask for prayer? And I was like on via text or online, like, what do we do? And I'm like, I don't know. What would you do if they walked into your church building? Like, you would just pray for them. So it's not overly complicated. That's what I love about this. It's just using something that people do every day to just say, how can I pray for you? And you can get volunteers to do those prayers. If you have staff, you can do them. Like, this isn't overly complicated. It's just such a, I don't know, to me, a redeeming use of technology. Where something's kind of usually a waste of time. It's like you're going and here's people saying, I'd love for you to pray for me. You know? So again, odd combination of words. Maybe you're thinking that, like, what is a prayer ad and how do we do it and all that kind of stuff. And we can talk about that, but it's like, you can do this. Like, every church can do this. It's not overwhelmingly complicated.
Yeah. And let's just pause here for those who can chat. Is this resonating with you? If this, like, man, what social media needs is some prayer. What my community needs is some prayer. It doesn't need more arguing, more drama, more like, well, yeah. So if this is resonating for you, man, what if we all, I mean, we've got thousands of church leaders on here now. What if we all committed to do this? Just show up and bring prayer to social media and bring prayer to our community. I mean, give a shout out, give a prayer emoji, say prayer in the chat. But like, I just love this, Chris, because this is what our world needs right now. Yeah, we need God being invited into the situation, being invited into our communities, and then invited to come out so we can pray for people in person. And it's there's so many churches are trying to find the latest, greatest gimmick to get people on social media. And there's some helpful stuff out there, but just the simplicity of how can I pray for you is so refreshing.
And I think, hey, Ryan and Chris, I think too, somebody scrolled by in the chat. I saw this. A lot of times churches will do this just organically on their Facebook page. Like, we're here for you. We're here for you. The problem's not the right word, but when we do that, that's typically our church members that see that, which is, again, a great thing to do. What you're talking about, Chris, is literally turning that into an ad, broadening the circle. And now you're saying, hey, how can our church pray for you, people in the community, which is a great thing for a church to do. We should absolutely pray for our church members too. But when we broaden that out by turning just a post into an ad, it widens that net, it widens that circle, and it gives us the opportunity to minister to more people.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's exactly what we did at my church when we did it, right? Like, we just dropped a pin on the church, right? And then we said, hey, Facebook, show this to everyone who lives within 15 miles of our church. Right. And then Facebook shows that to everybody out there. So that's the difference. You nailed it, Michael, right? Between just putting it on the Facebook page and then actually creating an ad that, shows to everyone within driving distance of the church.
Is this helpful for you guys? Is this refreshing? Because I know a lot of times when we say you'll go to a workshop like this and like, oh, they taught us a whole bunch of new ideas that we don't know how to do. I'm hoping this is refreshing. Like, oh, they told us we should pray. Like, we can pray. We just need a way to get that out to people within transportation distance of our church. So if that's refreshing, it's like, you don't need to learn the latest, greatest. This is not a new, thing that you gotta, like, you can pray. You just need a bridge between you and your community. And that's what is so powerful about this. So here's another one here that just testifying to what God is doing here.
Well, yeah. And this is important, right? Because it's like understanding the ministry of what's happening here, right? So this is, Jeannie said, hey, want to share a couple of testimonies. We enabled the prayer ads around 2 p.m. last Sunday. In this short time, one person gave their life to Jesus, right? Imagine people are getting saved through social media, right? Because you're using it for ministry. Said, and last night, one of our prayer team members was awakened and read a prayer from someone who was going to commit suicide. She responded to the person right on Facebook and ended up getting them the suicide hotline, right? Like, the Lord literally used that ad and that person to be able to bring hope into that situation. And that's why that's why it's so important.
Let me ask you guys a question, because a lot of times you will hear like, hey, yeah, fall visitor plan. And then a lot of us will be like, okay, will this work? And my question to pastors is, okay, question the foundation, does prayer work? And I'll just pause awkwardly until you guys, does it work? Does prayer work? And so for this plan, it's based on prayer. It's based on, if prayer works, then offering to pray for people. So I want you guys to see how foundational and how simple this is. This isn't something that's foreign to us as believers. This is at the core of what we believe, is that what people need is God invited into their situation. And so if prayer works, man, why not do it? Why not that be the one of the best evangelistic opportunities and tools that we have? And so, amen, yes, absolutely works. Nathan, it works. But not always as expected. That is so true. But the goal is, man, we just need to show up, right? Our communities need to know that we are still here. right? That we are still here. God is still here. He wants to do big things, and just offering people to pray is just such a simple way. Michael, this is really bringing it back around to this system idea.
Yeah.
And so walk us through this, how these all start to work together.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you guys were talking through and on the whiteboard, I love that whiteboard too, by the way. You know, you got the everyday ads, which is kind of the Google showing up for the people that are searching for church near me. That's happening. The momentum ads were the events, right? The big three, like helping, promote those big three. And then the ministry ads, this prayer idea, hey, our church is here to pray for you. I think that all three work together. And so if you don't do the everyday piece, right? So like if you don't have in the middle of the night when people are Googling, do they find your church? If that's missing, and for a lot of churches, I think that piece is missing. When we planted a church, that was for sure missing. If you Google, churches in city or whatever, and you're not showing up, that's missing, right? And so without that, there's this risk that we're always try to look for the next big event, and that we over busy our schedule, or we look for some like secret strategy, silver bullet strategy. You need that every day, that everyday growth. I think that picture you showed, Ryan, was so appropriate, right? That every day, middle of the night, is just happening all the time. It's the football team that just gets 4 yards when they run the ball. That's it, right? Not going to be on the highlights. It's just every day you should have that, because without it, I think we're always looking for a silver bullet that doesn't work. But then maybe you have that, and then you do the ministry piece, but you're missing the events, right? Events are the best thing, in my opinion, if you don't do too many, to create a culture of inviting. Because when you remember that people are like, I need something to do this weekend. I need something to do with my kids. Is there a summer camp that my kids could go to? Like, we need to be showing up in those conversations. And those are very good opportunities to teach your people to invite.
Yep.
And that lead up phase, remember I was talking about how you time to lead up to it and follow up. The lead up phase is when you go to your people and you say, hey, church, the reason we're doing this trunk or treat is not just so you have something to do. It's so that you can invite your friends and your neighbors and your coworkers. And maybe it's hard for you to share your faith right now. And maybe you're not ready to invite them to church yet, but you can invite them to this thing, right? This is an easier invite. And so these momentum things is what helps create a culture of inviting. And so that to me is a huge one. And then the third one, I love the prayer ad stuff, Chris. It's just simple. I saw somebody in the chat like, this is so simple. I don't know why we haven't done it. It's intuitive, right? There's something intuitive like, hey, we should be praying for people. So if we leave that piece out, I think we lose a lot of opportunities for just ministry along the way, just to create conversations, to create people. And we talked about being stale, not having progress, right? If there's not those conversations breathe life into people. Yeah. Like, imagine, pastor, like somebody walks up into the lobby and they're volunteer and they're connected and doing these prayers, and they walk up to you and they say, hey, pastor, I got to pray for 3 people this week. Like, I recorded the prayer and I sent it to them. That's life-giving, not just to the person who's being prayed for, but even for the people doing it on the other end. And so we have a great way to do forward progress. So Ryan, I think they all do 3 work together. Like, if there's like a triangle, right? There are 3 sides of the triangle, and they all do help each other. They feed off each other. The key really is all 3. Each type makes the other better. And, on the everyday piece, like when your church organizationally is working hard to show up in these places, I think it inspires your congregants to invite. And then the more people, it just goes back and forth, and it really does make each other better. So I think the key is all 3, having all 3 of these.
Yeah, that's so good, guys. And so far, Chris, we've covered so far. I know we've covered a lot, but this just to recap, so you guys can be like, I know we're going quickly here, but we've covered a lot so far.
Yeah, we've covered a lot. I mean, we gave you guys the workshop workbook. We showed you guys what those 3 different types of invites look like and everything, right? Identifying those momentum seasons versus ministry seasons. We talked about the 3 types of searchers, right? People that are searching for a church, people that are searching for something to do, right? The events, and people that are searching for hope. And then the 3 types of invites that line up with that: the everyday invites, momentum invites, ministry invites. The big 3 key momentum points of, like back to school, fall festival, and Christmas. And then we talked about ministry seasons, how ministry seasons multiply momentum seasons. And then talked about how prayer ads can reach new families and spread hope through your community.
So, guys, has this been helpful so far? So if this has been helpful so far, man, throw a yes in the chat. Our hope, I hope you feel this, man. Pastors are our heroes. We want to serve the local church well. We want you walking away with, man, how can we help? How can we give you guys ideas? How can we equip you? How can we give you, just leave here encouraged and fired up and ready to go? And so that is a big goal of our workshop. And I said, yes. Like, blow up the chat. Yes. Okay. Yes. Here's what I'd ask. Would it be okay if we showed you what it looks like if our team would set this plan up for you and run it for your church? Because we get this question all the time. We all started out as like, we would create online courses. They'd be like, yeah, I love that. Go through that. We want to give that to you. We want to equip you. We want to give you a book and do everything that we possibly can in our time together today. But would it be okay if we're like, okay, what would this look like if your team would actually just run this for us? Because that all sounds amazing, but like, man, what would even be more amazing if this was done for me, if that was even an option on the table? Man, I would love to do that. So, man, I'm seeing a lot of people. Mark, yes. Gene, yes. Gilbert, yes. Tammy, yes. Wayne, yes. Okay, so if you guys are ready, again, one more yes. Okay, and just keep in mind, too, we're going to go into question and answer here in just a second. But for those of you who would want, like, okay, what would it look like for the Church Fuel team to run this for me? Who is the Church Fuel team, first off? So there's 27 pastors, coaches, and experts on the team. Team is all committed about serving the local church. We absolutely love the local church, love pastors. We currently serve 3,000 churches, and we already have 600 churches that are in this done for you approach where we're running this plan for them. And guess what, guys? Here's really, really cool. We are currently every single month spending over $1 million. You guys hear that? Over $1 million of Google's money to tell people about Jesus and invite them to one of these 600 churches. It is absolutely crazy. So the team, you see them in the background there. That's actually the team. They are world class in what they do, and they love Jesus. And we're all committed to help churches get visitors, give you some visitor fuel. We call the Done For You service GROW. So if you've ever heard of us talk about the GROW program, that is our Done For You visitor system. Michael talked about the visitor system. We call it GROW, and it is our Done For You approach. And here's what happened. When a church jumps into GROW, the very first thing that our team does, we kick in the gear, and we secure your church $120,000 of Google's money in their ad grant. Okay, it's nuts. That's the very first thing we do. Let's go use Google's money to now give you a local missions budget. It's absolutely incredible. Our team is fantastic at this. We get you that money and we get working right away. Then our team uses Google's money. How can I get an amen? Like, let's use somebody else's money to set up that plan, your everyday invites, your momentum invites, your ministry invites. We then set up your Google ad campaigns. We run, the important word there is we run these campaigns and we keep improving your campaigns. We set up your Google ad campaigns. Google pays for it. We run it and we monitor your campaigns. And that is the core of GROW. And that's what we call our automatic invite system. Would anybody like an automatic? You're like, man, that sounds amazing. Those everyday automatic, somebody else using Google's money to bring people to your church. Every church needs an automatic invite system. We firmly believe that. And so then what we do is like, okay, let's do this to the max. Let's max this out. Let's give you a visitor fuel. Those momentum invites, we max out your momentum invites with plug and play Facebook and Instagram campaigns. Chris is the best in the world at this. We show you exactly what to do on Facebook and Instagram around those big 3 momentum points, and all year round. That is all a part of the GROW program. And then we do those ministry invites on top of that with you. You get the entire prayer ad system. So Chris has done this. I think with how many churches have you done this with?
We've done, I think, just over 1,000 now.
And you've prayed for over 200,000 people.
Yeah,
these churches?
Over 200,000 prayer requests. We've got over 20,000 families that have planned to visit to the churches, and just
so this isn't like some idea. This is a proven system to do this. So for those of you like, man, the prayer ad sounds awesome. I would love to ride with the guy who created them, invented them, pioneered them, and has helped churches pray for over 200,000 people. That's what GROW is. And so you guys saw it up on the whiteboard. That is literally GROW done for you. Okay. If you're visual like me, that is what GROW is. It is a visitor funnel that gets you a steady stream of visitors to your church. So it is our top tier service, specifically designed for churches who want to partner together to reach as many people as possible. It's $397 a month. You can save even more if you do the annual option. About 20% of our GROW churches choose that annual option to save even more. And the team will drop a opportunity there to go and grab one of these limited spots. you go to churchfuel.com/order if you would like to jump in and get one of these done for you plans in place. So that's churchfuel.com/order. The team will put that in the chat to make it super simple. And you can jump into the Grow program. Again, it's $397 a month. It's $333 a month if you pay that annually. And you will want to go to churchfuel.com/order if you like, man, I love this plan. I absolutely love the done for you option even more. churchfuel.com/order there. Now, the one thing that I need to make you aware of is this is our top tier plan. It's high quality. It's high touch. Our team is working and running these ads. So this isn't just like an online course. This is a team of people who are helping you solve the new people problem. So we have the capacity. We have 200 spots set aside for the churches at this workshop. Okay, so this is for the people who would say, yep, I want the done for you. I want that team to become my team. And then we really resonate with this, and let's go. Let's like max this out. So again, it is our top tier program for the churches that resonate with this. We have 200 spots. That's what we feel confident saying, man, we can deliver a high quality, incredible system for your church. So that's what Grow is. Again, churchfuel.com/order is where you can jump in and grab one of those spots. Those spots tend to go pretty quick. Last time we opened this up in January, I think on the first day alone, we had 175 churches jump in and grab one of those spots. Again, we only open up Grow once or twice a year. Once those spots are gone, we are all in helping those churches this fall, and we open up Grow next year. So if you're like, hey, I'm interested in the done for you approach, this is the time to jump in and get started. And so, Michael, I want you from a lead pastor's perspective to maybe talk to some of our senior pastors. You've been in that role before. Kind of how would you evaluate Grow as a lead pastor?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I see the chat going by, and again, I know when I hear things like this is a service, not like this is, you think about this, you have that picture of all the people out there. Think about the 27 people that literally is their job. It's their full-time job to do all this. And so, when I see things that have price tags and maybe I think they're expensive, I always like to know why they're expensive. Like why is that so expensive? And it's because there's a lot of people doing this. But here's what I would say, because I've been a church planter. Literally, we had no budget. The budget was my bank account. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I get it. I totally get it. And so a lot of what you guys talked about, Ryan and Chris, I do think there's a lot that a pastor can do. Like, you can take the ideas from this. You can go post on Facebook, and you can run a Facebook ad for $10 if you want. You can go and apply for the Google grant. It's going to take work, but if you're willing to work, you can do almost everything that we talked about today. Like, I know this sounds weird, but like you can do this on your own. So you can take action. You find a piece of it that you can do. You move it forward. You recruit some volunteers to help do this. Like, you can do all those things. You can build the system, right? You can get a coach to show you along the way. And Ryan, we were talking yesterday on the phone. Like, we have some courses and we have some resources. We'll come back with some other workshops and show you how to do all this stuff. But I know when I didn't have a big team. Like, there wasn't a team. Like, it was me and like 2 other people that were volunteers. Everybody, we had to have staff meeting at like 8:00 at night because everybody else had jobs, and that's the only time we could do it. So if you want a team to do it, that's when I look at it and go, hey, is it worth that investment or not? And if it's not, you do the work. Like, do the work yourself. But if you need support, you need coaching and all those things, I think these things on this slide, you can take action, you can build a system, and you can get a coach. Like, you can do all those things. I would just encourage you to say you can do all of those things. We love pastors. I think pastors are heroes. Most pastors are not famous on YouTube. They're not famous on social media. They don't have a top 10 podcast. Like, you're literally serving your community. And if somebody in your community is sick or in the hospital, you might get the phone call. Like, I think that's heroic. And so we just want to come along and help maximize some of that. And so that's something that I think you could do. Ryan, we talked about, I know you've had Grow for a while. And did you say there were 600 churches in this?
600 churches right now. We're working on the Done For You system. Yep. So that's a lot of churches that you're doing this for. and I know it takes a lot of people, and that's probably the reason for the limited spots, because you can't, like, it takes like literal human beings have to do the work. But one thing we wanted to do is, if you did decide to jump into Grow, everything that we talked about, Ryan made an announcement at the beginning that CMU, Grow, Church Fuel is kind of all joining forces.
And so if you do jump into Grow, we want to give you a Church Fuel All Access membership, which you could get on your own if you want. So you could go to churchfuel.com and sign up for that. But if you join today, Grow, we just want to give that to you as well. And I know there's also support. I know there's hand holding through this. I see so many questions going by about all the different things. Like literally the team will hold your hand through all that stuff. And so we just want to make sure you have that as well. So you'll get all of the stuff that Chris was talking about, all that done for you system. And then we just want to just kind of add all of Church Fuel All Access to you as well. And just put that in there. So this is the summary. I actually asked Ryan to make this slide for me because I am a very basic human being when it comes down to it. And I'm like, can you summarize?
I think we just lost Michael on the internet feed.
Work with you. I mean, if there's a complicated system, they work through it. All the invites that Chris talked about, they'll run that for you. All access coaching program, all the Church Fuel access for your team, and everybody on your church can like if you have deacons, elders, staff, they get logins as well. And then all the stuff that's in Church Marketing University, Ryan, there's a ton in there like that you've put in there over the last year. Like literally all of this stuff is like we just kind of want to give that to you. So this was the order form again, same link you shared earlier, Ryan. I think you can scan the QR code. Man, QR codes have been like they've come back significantly for a while. But you can scan the QR code and do it from your phone, or you can go to churchfuel.com/order. And again, we'll show you how to do all this on your own if you want to, right? So you can learn from this, take that workbook, get some people together, implement it on your own. But if you want somebody to do it for you, I always think like this is, again, I don't want to try to convince somebody that this is right, but it's probably cheaper than hiring somebody to do all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, people are expensive and staff can be expensive. And so I think if this thing can push some people forward, that would probably be a good thing. So that's the link, churchfuel.com/order. Yeah. Oh, this is good too, right? I saw this go by in the chat. It's month to month, so you don't have to like commit. I assume if you did the annual option that you're in for a year. But if you want to go month to month, you can do that. We've done this at Church Fuel. Our Church Fuel customers, I know some of you are in the chat, have stayed for a very long time. And that's not because we're like the cable company where you're locked in, for 3 years or whatever. Like it's month to month. If it's not working for your son, changes in your church, it's not hard to cancel. But we have people love the community and love the resources. So I think that's important to know and share that.
I saw in the chat, Robert Kelly, the Google grant process and everyday invites are probably worth it alone. 100%, Robert. The nonprofit world, I've done some consulting with nonprofits. Nonprofits will pay, over $1,000 to have a grant managed for them a month. You can look around, but it's for the church and for the team that you get working with your church. Plus, Chris, why don't you talk to us a little bit more about like the impact that this could have, what we're seeing at churches. It is definitely worth it.
Yeah, I mean, again, one of the best reasons that I like this is just being able to get the word out into the church. Like here's Pastor Charles, one of the churches in our Grow program right now, right? Like posted this, said, "Hey, good morning, everyone. Just want to give you a quick update and praise report. We started the prayer campaign last Wednesday, about a week ago. Here's a snapshot of the results so far. 3 new families showed up on Sunday as a result of the ministry ad, and 2 of them joined the church." Right. And again, like this is like we talked about at the beginning, the reason that we're here, the reason we're all in ministry, the reason we do what we do is because we want to make heaven crowded. Right. And so that's one of the reasons that I think something like this, right, reaching people with ministry is so powerful. This Pastor Antonio, the Grow program, said, "Hey, we just had 4 families, which is 12 people who saw the prayer ad. We prayed for them and they reached out, and now they're going through our membership classes."
So cool.
Right. Joining the church, which is cool. This is Pastor William, had a small church, right? Said that, man, in 5 weeks from Facebook alone, we've had 20 first-time guests, 8 return guests, 3 people who have received Christ, 2 people who are contemplating suicide, who got connected with preventative care, right? And then we had 558 audio prayers, right? So again, it's just that ministry and being able to reach people, and you're getting the word out, by actually doing ministry, right? And doing it at scale and helping people. So this is one of the ways I think about it. I'm very logical when I come to, so I get really excited, really passionate about stuff. But when it comes to actually like making investments in things, right, like programs, coaches, those types of things, for me, a lot of it just comes down to like the math, right? And so we know that Grow is not for every single person, right? It's not going to be a great fit for every single church. Ryan mentioned it's kind of our top tier, right? It's the difference between like a product where it's like, hey, here's an online course you can log into, and here's a service where we're going to actually do this for you. But what I like about it, right, is you can invest $397 a month, and then you're going to get $10,000 a month from Google that will help you secure, right? So for me, that's kind of how I looked at it. Like when we started doing this at my church, I was paying a guy $500 a month just to do the Google ads part, right? And we did it for years. We paid a guy $500 a month just to run Google ads because like on the staff, like we had a meeting about it. I was like, okay, so we pay this guy $500 a month and we're going to get 10,000 a month in Google ads. So let's pay this guy forever, right? And that was just us. Obviously, that was long before Grow, as we were kind of figuring all this stuff out. But so something to kind of think through and pray through for me. You're investing $397 a month, you get 10,000 a month, and then just to make sure that like there's no risk on your part, and to kind of place all the risk on our shoulders, right? We have 2 money back guarantees. The first one is a 30-day guarantee. Right. This is just like you jump in, right? No questions asked for any reason or none at all. We will give you every penny back anytime within the first 30 days. So you can jump in without any risk. You can try for 30 days. You can come back, say, Michael, Chris, Ryan, I don't like the program. I hate you guys. Right. Like, man, we're out. We'll give you every penny back. Right. And again, it's just, we just want to be able to serve you guys. We want you to be able to help make an informed decision by giving it a chance and actually trying it. And if it doesn't work, we'll give you every penny back. The second one that we have, again, just to kind of put the risk on our shoulders so you don't have any, is that if you run all 3 invites, right? You join the Grow program, you run everyday invites, momentum invites, and ministry invites for 12 months, and it doesn't work, meaning you don't get any new Sunday visitors, then we'll give you all of your money back that you invested into Grow, right? From that entire year, we'll give it back to you. Right. So again, all we're trying to do here is we legitimately want to serve pastors. We want to help churches, and we want to make this kind of a no risk for you to figure out if it's a good fit for your church. Right. And so what better way than to actually kind of give it a try and see if it's going to be a good fit. So you have the option to get your money back. This was Jeremy. Man, I love this. Right. He said average attendance is around 26 to 30 people. Right. Launched a Facebook ad last week, run about 26 to 30. And he said, man, I want to share this because they're talking to our Grow families, whatever. But so we've already had 9 new families plan a visit. So in 1 week, they had 9 new families plan a visit. Right. And they only have 26 to 30 in their church. So that's why it's so powerful is, man, like going from stuck to unstuck, right? And just reaching people and doing ministry. So this is from Norton Baptist. Hey, 29 first-time guests, 11 second-time guests, and 7 third-time guests in August. Right? Again, just reaching new families. And then I love this one from Pastor Dave. He said, let me testify, 20 members in 20 days. I'm not even checking the visitors. So he's not saying those 20 visitors, but we had 20 new members to the church in 20 days, right? I went into this program skeptical, but honestly, it's worked. And which is really cool, right? We're making heaven crowded.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people in the chat, some giving some shout outs there as well. Some of our Grow churches. It's pretty cool. If you've been in Grow, I think I saw some. I got a message here texting me just the impact that Grow has had. You could give it a shout out as well. Charles here, another one. Man, Charles has just been maxing out.
Dude,
Grow.
This was an email he sent me last week, right? He literally emailed me and just said, hey, Chris, I want to share these results with you, and a screenshot of how grateful we've been for the prayer ad strategy. It's always worked in a tremendous way. I appreciate y'all. I said, man, we were a church plan of less than 100, and because of the Easter strategy, right, which is those momentum invites, I said, because of the Easter strategy, we had over 800 people show up to our Easter egg hunt, right? Not bad for a church of less than 100, right? And then here's the screenshot that he sent me from the prayer ad. Right? They've prayed for 392 people, and they've had 136 planned visits. Right, so the church of less than 100, they prayed for almost 400 people who live within driving distance of their church, and they've had 136 of them who've signed up, planned to visit their church, said we want to come check out church on Sunday.
I see some people jumping in there. We just made our purchase. I got a text from the team. No Limit Global Church, True Holiness Gospel Church, Zoe Family Church. I love seeing these churches because I know, like, my favorite thing is thinking, okay, this is a testimony that's about to happen. So I love when you guys jump in to Grow, because I know like 3 months from now, the hope and the prayers, we're going to work together. And man, we're going to have baptism stories and testimonies. And so those names of churches, we pray for you guys. We serve you guys to the max. Our team kicks it into gear, work really, really hard for you guys. But then those testimonies, when they start to come in, I was like, I remember when New Horizon Christian Church jumped in to grow, and they had no clue what God had in store for them. And then now to see the testimonies start rolling in. I see Dave just jumped in there. And we are going to get to your question and answer, guys. There's some of you guys who are like, man, you don't have to answer any questions. You answered it with, you set up the ads, you run those every day, you run the plan. That is the answer that I was looking for. Churchfield.com/order. We are going to get into the Q&A.